¿Cuántas veces he tratado de olvidarte? ¿Cuántas veces sin lograrlo así? ¿Cuántas veces, cuántas noches sin tus besos? Aún sabiendo que te alejas más de mí. ¿Cuántas veces he vivido y he sufrido mil fracasos? Y el dolor de no sentirte entre mis brazos, más la angustia de saber que te perdí. ¿Cuántas veces he vivido y he sufrido mil fracasos? Y el dolor de no sentirte entre mis brazos, más la angustia de saber que te perdí. Aún después de haber pasado tanto tiempo, se repite otra vez la misma historia. No te puedo borrar de mi memoria.
Oh my goodness, I was dancing in my kitchen. I don't know about you, but that pre-music just before we're starting our seminar is brought to you by the Latin Heartbeat Orchestra. That's a homegrown salsa orquesta right here in Connecticut. Welcome everyone to our Lunch and Learn series. Today's topic is managing money during challenging times. I am your host, Marilyn Alverio. En español se dice Marilyn Alverio. Soy boricua, nacida y criada aquí en los Estados Unidos. Bienvenidos a todos. Welcome to everyone. I am the founder of Latinas in Power. And as I mentioned, I'm speaking to you from Connecticut. For some of you, we kind of kick this off on June 12th with our virtual symposium that's usually held in person in Hartford, Connecticut with the support of all of our sponsors. Of course, with the times that we're facing today, many people are turning to virtual symposiums. We kicked ours off on June 12th. 1,600 people registered from across the country and actually from different parts of the world. We're so excited. We enjoy your comments, your feedback. Keep it coming. We did hear from you that you want the chat feature on. So we're keeping the chat feature on. Feel free to send some messages to us. For those of you that did attend the June 12th event, we have a Survey Monkey out there. We really do want to hear from you. And we have a $100 gift card, compliments of one of our sponsors, TJX. In case you don't know who they are, they have Marshalls, they have TJ Maxx, they have Home Goods. So at the end of today, we're going to be pulling that raffle for the $100 gift card. A special thank you to our marketing partners. David Frith is behind the scenes from Buzz Engine, and Ava Bermudez. She is an executive director of a nonprofit here in Connecticut who just stepped in to help us. And as of course, I thanked our Latin Heartbeat Orchestra for providing that music and giving us the rights to use it any way that we want. A quick public service announcement. I'm telling this to anybody who will listen. I pass this along to you so that you do it as well. Two things that we can do in today's world is vote. November 3rd is election day. Take your family, take your community, make sure that people do vote. And second is the census. You've probably got it in the mail. You've probably gotten a lot of them in the mail by now. So make sure you take 10 seconds to fill that out. Quick housekeeping, Q&A. At the bottom of your screen, for those of you who are just joining a Zoom for the first time, there is an icon that says Q&A. That's where you send your questions for our speaker today. And we'll do our best to try to get to all of them. Technology, of course, is great, except for when it's not. So we hope that the technology gods are with us today. So real quickly, the mission of Latinas in Power is twofold. First is that we want to inspire, motivate, encourage Latinas to succeed, whether it's in their professional career, or it's in business, or even in your personal life, to become leaders and advocates. Secondly is we like to spotlight what Latinas are doing throughout the country. We have some amazing success stories, as you could see from some of our past speakers, and we like to make sure that we are acknowledging those and helping to write our own narrative. As I mentioned, we held this symposium in Hartford every year. We get about 400 or 500 people that come. So with everything going on, we did move it to September 24th is our next event, hopefully in person. If not, it will be virtual. So I know that many people are suffering from the impact of COVID, and I just want you to know that our hearts go out to you. For those of you that are not Latinas that are joining us today, this is a great opportunity for you to expand your own comfort zone and to become part of new networks and really kind of learn more about what's going on in other groups. And so, you know, this is created by Latinas, but it's for everyone. Our event is made possible by our sponsors. And I am just delighted to introduce you to our presenting sponsor today. As you can see on this slide, we have a lot of great sponsors. Thank you for all of your support throughout the year. Our presenting sponsors are MassMutual, Eversource, and Chat. And today, this Lunch and Learn is presented by MassMutual, who happens to be my employer also. You know, when I introduced Teresa Hazara, who is the head of Workplace Solutions, I always find like this emotional thing that happens because I made this connection with this amazing leader within our organization. She's the kind of person that really listens and pays attention and helps you to reach your, you know, your passion and your dreams and your interests, and helps you along the path. So for me, you know, it has been Latinas in Power, and from the minute she met me and Latinas in Power, she has been an amazing supporter, a champion of women. It is my honor to introduce you to Teresa Hazara. Welcome, Teresa.
Thanks, Marilyn, and hi everyone, all you fabulous women. I am so excited to be here today and looking forward to the discussion on financial wellness that Carolina will lead in just a few minutes. As Marilyn said, I'm Teresa Hazara. I have the good fortune to lead the retirement and voluntary benefits businesses at MassMutual, which is a financial services company headquartered in Massachusetts. At MassMutual, we serve over 30,000 companies and help millions of individuals build financial well-being and protect the ones they love. It's a job I love and a mission I am just truly passionate about. I'm particularly passionate about helping women succeed in all phases of their lives. I've written a lot about the pervasive gap women face, both in financial education and savings. But today, we're going to take stock and we're going to learn how we can better position ourselves in this challenging time, a time that, as we all know, is not impacting all of us in the same way. Much like Marilyn's Latinas and Power Symposium, which she just held virtually on June 12th, I look at this session as an opportunity to support and learn from one another. I was so glad Marilyn was able to continue this work virtually, because in spite of our external environment and the many things we can't control, I am a firm believer that we can and we should continue to work on the challenges we face, gather new information, and support one another in our quest to lead our best lives, regardless of what's happening on the outside. And speaking of support and a drive to help other women, I am just delighted to introduce Carolina LaMonica, who will lead us in a discussion, as I said, about financial well-being with a focus on budgeting during challenging times. Carolina has been with MassMutual for 6 years, beginning as an education specialist and most recently, a relationship manager. She is truly a rock star. She's beloved by our clients, a former education specialist of the year and an MVP within our retirement division. She holds her FINRA 6, 7, and 65 licenses and has a BA in International Business and Marketing from Florida Atlantic University. And on a personal note, she's told me helping people and problem solving is her passion. She strives to bring that spirit to her personal and her professional life every day. So let's get started. Please join me in welcoming Carolina LaMonica.
Wow. This is so exciting, right? And again, I am so thrilled to be here. I am very, very, very excited. And first, Teresa, you know, we know each other since you started at MassMutual, and we have been very blessed to have you to be running our company. And Mass Mutual it has been a great partner for us as employees because it gives us the opportunity to keep giving back. You know, everything that we learn, everything that we do is just the way to also give out there to the community. So just, by the way, the ones who don't know, she actually was the one who referred me to Marilyn to come here and do these things with you guys. So I'm just beyond excited. And I thank, obviously, for Teresa, for everything you do for us as employees and for women, because, you know, we definitely need those allies out there to help us meet our goals in life, right? And to Latinas and Power and Marilyn, I mean, I've had such a great experience with Marilyn and giving me this opportunity. And I know that the best way that you can do for others is being here, you know, educating. And that has been my passion. And that's something that I was very blessed that I just happened to be in this business and I started doing education. Now I can help different ways, but this is definitely where my heart is. And I am just so glad to be able to share some of this information with you guys today. So I know we have women and men and people from all over the place, because, you know, I know that I got lots of my coworkers also joined. So thank you for that. And we're just gonna get started. So let me go ahead and share my screen here real quick. But before I start, I always have to do a little bit of housekeeping as well. I have to give you, where does it go? Right here. I just have to give you my disclosures. I can't give you tax or legal advice. All I'm giving you is just information about what I have done, what it has worked for me, and how I can help you. And I'm sorry if there's a lot of background noise right now. It should be coming out here in a second. But everything we're talking about today is because it has worked for me. It has worked for a lot of people. So I just wanted it to share with you. All right. So let's start talking about financial well-being. I don't know how many of you have actually heard that specific topic or say, okay, am I even financially well? Am I financially well established? So the questions that you want to ask yourself when you're thinking about that is, do you have control over day-to-day, month-to-month finances? Do you even know where your money is going? Do you even know how you're spending that money? Do you have a capability of absorbing a financial shock? Think about that. That's exactly what's going on with us right now. That are we able to deal with what is going on to everybody in a different way? Are you able to meet your financial goals? You know, is that something that you have even set up? Some of us are so busy with children, with life, that we don't even put those financial goals like written down. And the last one that I think is so important and creates so much stress, and Mass Mutual has done a lot of different surveys and a lot of research and realizes that the stress that creates for us, the fact that we don't know about money, that we don't necessarily understand if we're going to be okay, that stress really hurt us. And the idea is to give you some tools that you're going to be able to make better financial choices and enjoy that life. So Marilyn, do you think that budget is what, you know, will fit our conversation today, huh?
So I hope that it's going to give us a tool that, like a budget sheet maybe, how to keep track of our money, you know. But you said something just a couple of minutes ago, which I was thinking a lot of people don't do this, and that they don't have financial goals to start with. So as you're going through your presentation, it's going to be really important for people to understand that they need to have financial goals. Mm-hmm. If they don't have financial goals, if they don't even know how to start getting financial goals, that could be a place, you know, like the kind of questions they need to ask, because there's so many tools out there. So I hope that one of the tools that you're going to share with us today is those budget worksheets.
Absolutely. So actually we have a couple of things for you. So budget, you know, it's just one of those elephants in the room that we all know about it. We know it has to be done, but we just don't do it because it takes time. It's a little, it's just something that we not necessarily want to do. But what I do feel is right now we're at home, we have our children, we have our spouses, we have whoever we live with. This is a perfect time for you to use to sit down with your family and say, okay, guys, let's sit together, even with yourself, whoever you are, with your cat, with your dog, whoever it is that you're with, and sit down and say, let's talk about this. Let's talk about money. People don't like to talk about money, but you have to. Because the only way that you're ever going to be able to get to those financial goals is understanding what it is, what money comes in, what money comes out, and how do we deal with the expenses. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is assessing your income. Your income may be changing right now, right? Maybe you have a new child that, an older child that moved back home and maybe he's helping, or maybe one of your in the household lost their job, or they're in furloughed, or they're only having maybe unemployment. So the first thing that is very important to look into is assessing that income. How much money is actually coming? And it's important to realize that, because sometimes we think that we have this much money, but how much money do we really have? So that's step number one. Now, step number two, this is the hard part. Okay, so now we gotta track your spendings. 30 days, Carolina. I mean, seriously, that's a lot of time. Dios mío, okay, right? It's too much. Well, there is a couple of things we can do for you today. The first thing is, Marilyn is gonna send, after our conversation, a sheet that this financial presentation comes with, that you can do it pen and paper, old style. My husband loves pen and paper, that's his thing. I don't like pen and paper, but it's okay, it's to each his own. But what I have found, and again, this is not something I am endorsing, this is something that I have been using for years and I really like, and it's called Mint, like Minty, M-I-N-T. This is a tool, it's a tracking tool. And what I like about it is that you can put in all your credit cards, all your bank accounts, your mortgage, your student loans, your car payments, everything, all your bills into the specific tracking tool. And I'm sure there's a lot of out there. I'm just telling you the one I really, really enjoy. And what it does is that it literally takes all your income, all your expenses, and it's going to categorize them for you. You will be impressed. When we did this in my house for the first time, because I made my husband do it as well, you should see how much we noticed of things that we were spending, overspending. And I was like, wow, we really need to work on this. So this is very important to actually start. That's your first step, taking the time. I know it's not the best. I know it's not fun, but you actually have to have a base so you can understand where it is that is going. And Marilyn, if we have any questions, I see some light ups, let me know. So when we talk, all right, perfect. When we talk about expenses, right, there is gonna be your fixed and your variables. But today what we really wanted it to give you was some ideas of how we can work with these different expenses and how we can work to save some money, because I know right now we all need to have a little bit of that money that we're spending maybe coming back to us. So usually we talk about variable. That's where we're gonna get most of our savings, right? That's our thought process. But I have a little tool for you on the fixed that we're gonna talk in a second.
So Carolina, you were just talking about Mint. The first thing is, so many people said, I love Mint. I use Mint all the time.
Awesome.
So someone just says, can you speak to the scrutiny of Mint, as well as can Mint replace a budgeting sheet? So while you're on that topic.
So yes, because I mean, now, again, like I said, it's not something that I can endorse, because I don't work for them. I just been using it. I've never had an issue with it. I have a very strong password in it. And they do have certain steps, like every time you have to get into an account, that you have to go through like the validation process. But yes, it can, because Mint has different opportunities there, or different tools within the tool that you can create a budget. And it will tell you, oh, you went over budget on spending of food. Oh, you went over budget on car and this and this and that. So it does. It is a very helpful tool, because it also shows you that you've been overspending, or it also shows you that, hey, you met the goal and you actually are reducing some of those variable expenses or whatever expense you're doing.
And then two other things. Yeah, I know, really good. They love Mint. So they want to know if Mint is free, and does it help with financial goals?
So yes and yes, it is absolutely free, and it helps with financial goals, and I'm about to talk about that in a way. Okay. So variables. Number one, debt in United States. Marilyn, you want to take a guess?
Student loan?
Number
No.
two, credit
Credit cards. Credit
Yes,
cards.
ma'am,
Okay.
credit cards. So I'm sure everybody has a credit card, right? And what I've been doing and what I've learned is that you can actually make money out of credit cards. So what do you mean I can make money out of credit cards? Well, you do need some work with it, but the way that it works is that look at there's millions of credit cards, right? There's some credit cards that gives you miles. There's some credit cards that gives you money. The ones that we use our home are two. I have one that is with Chase. Again, you use whatever, but I'm just using it to give you an example that gives me cash back. So that's a way for me to also build an emergency fund, which we're going to talk about in a second. Because every time I purchase, I get some of that money back, and it's literally hard cash. I can cash it out for money or pay towards my credit card. So it's not like I have to do all these wiggle anything. The second one I have is one that gives me miles. Para ir a Colombia, a ver a mi familia, right? So I can go to Colombia, see my family. Those are miles. So those are the two credit cards I use. But Carolina, how do you make money out of them? Well, as soon as you pay them off at the end of the month, that's the tricky part. You gotta be able to learn that you shouldn't be spending money in your credit cards that you can't afford, right? Or that you're gonna pay really quickly. Because the issue with the credit cards is that if you only pay the minimum payment on those credit cards, all you're doing is giving them more and more money, because you're gonna end up paying double of what you actually paid for the item that you purchased or for whatever it is, the transaction that you put in there. So how does Mint help you? Mint will give you suggestions based on the credit cards that you currently have. And it will show you all kinds of options. It gives you, these are the ones that does cashback. These are the ones who do, the miles. And also, if you're having an issue and you wanna maybe try to move some, you wanna get the 0%. Usually they only give it to you for like 6 months. So make a financial plan, a little financial goal. Set up, okay, I'm going to pay this debt. I have $5,000. How am I going to do it? If I have 6 months, I'm going to find a way to pay $1,000, $1,200, whatever it is, and get done with it. So if you move it to the 0%, you kind of freeze that total, and then you can work towards it. So that is a way that you can go about it.
That's fantastic.
Now, the fixed part, right? That's the one that people feel like, oh, well, you really can't do much. I mean, your mortgage is your mortgage and your car payment is your car payment. Well, that's not true. Right now, and especially with everything that is going on, you really need to do a little bit more work and research what available things are to you. I'll give you my perfect example. We just moved. My husband is military. We had to move. And with everything that's going on, I have not been able to sell my home back in Charleston, South Carolina, but I'm currently in North Carolina because we moved last week. So what I did is like, Dios mío, how am I gonna pay for 2 mortgages?
Right.
So I reached out to my bank and I said, hey, this is the situation because of COVID. It's been really hard for me to sell the house. Actually, I didn't even have to tell them. My bank only had a little email thing. You have to fill it out. And guess what? They gave me a 6 months forbearance time. For what you guys don't know what that means I do not have to pay my mortgage for 6 months. They're tacking away at the end. So even if maybe you're not, go ahead.
Do you happen to know if that's also good for like if you're renting? Does that also work?
I don't know. And again,
you're not sure. How would people find out about that? How do people
all
find out?
All they need to do is go ahead and look at your lender, right? Whatever you call or make your payment, just give them a call, go to their website, try to find out. Like the one that I use is called, oh gosh, I forgot ours because you know how they sell your mortgage sometimes, so you don't even know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt. What's the worst they're gonna tell you? No, we're not doing it. All right, but if you do get that opportunity, maybe you have those credit cards that are kind of killing you a little bit. Maybe you can have a little bit of a break, try to use that money in a positive way, give you a little bit of breathing. And maybe you can set up an emergency fund if you don't have one, which is what I'm gonna talk about next.
Okay. Great.
Okay. So any other questions that are coming through that I need to touch in?
Not on that. We can move to emergency funds. And so
don't forget, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that emergency funds is like a very important thing to understand today especially because of what we're going through, how that works and how we can make sure that we do have an emergency fund. It's like making that a priority. You know, I was just thinking myself, and I had gotten this comment before of, you know, we have not always made saving money a priority, especially like Latinos and us growing up, we were like more cash, you know, you paid for things in cash. So, you know, putting away money and saving for possibly if you lose your job or if you get ill or something like that that happens, how important that emergency fund is right now. I mean, that could be the difference of, you know, you surviving through this, right? So please,
and you know,
let's hear more.
And the biggest thing with that, I just wanted to give you a guideline here, but before you said that, the biggest thing is that obviously, you know that Teresa, myself, we work in the retirement business. And what we see the most is that employees use their retirement savings as their emergency fund. Think about that. You're stealing from the 60 or the 70 year-old version of yourself. That's wrong, because that person cannot take care of themselves. So when you are taking a loan, when you're pushing money out, and I get it, there are circumstances and situations where it is what it is, but you gotta take care of that. Like, you gotta protect it, because that is your eating money. That is your taking care of money in the future. So if you're thinking that your 401k, your retirement plan, any sort, it's your emergency fund, sorry to tell you, you're gonna have to think again, because that's not gonna be helpful, and it shouldn't be what you use. So really quickly, before we get into the emergency fund, I just wanna give you a simple guideline, because when you're doing this budgeting, there is a couple of things you wanna look at. Your budget should look something like 50, 30, and 20. The 50 is your living, right? Your living expenses should take about 50% of your income. 30% can be or your wants or kind of, you know, things that you wanna do, like traveling, you know, enjoying, going out to eat, things like that. And you should have 20%. Your debt should not go above 20%. If you can only have 15 or 10, that is fantastic. That should be where you want to go to. But on that living, there is a part of it, which is at least 20%, hopefully 20%. I mean, not at least, I'm sorry, that's a goal, 20% of that, 50 to put towards savings. I grew up in a home where we never like starved, but my parents had really rough times. And I remember them always sitting down with us and letting us know, hey, this is what we do for you. This is why you have food. This is why you have clothing. This is why you have all you have. So one thing I do want to bring up today with this is that don't make this budget just your thing. You know, this is something that you want to take the opportunity to sit and speak to your children about, the people that you are around. Don't expect the schools to take care of that. And Marilyn was telling me that someone that sent us a question right before this meeting, oh, well, you know, I'm naive or maybe even ignorant about money management. Please do that for your children. If you think that you are not helping them by hiding all these things from them, you're actually not. You're actually hurting them more, because they need to understand how hard you work. They will appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And make them part of the conversation is something that is very, very important. We are going to send something else. Mass Mutual does give back to the community in a different way. It's called Future Smart. It's an online training for middle schoolers that helps them understand a budget, helps them understand financial situations.
And it's free. It's an amazing online tool for young people. It's called futuresmart.com.
Yep.
Everybody that is on the call will get the link, as well as the attachment, the PDF and the budget sheet for the emergency fund. And you know, I want to make sure that you get to all your slides, but while we're on emergency fund, there was a question about the difference between an emergency fund and a savings account. And I think you're gonna talk on that a little bit.
Absolutely.
Do you have to open like a different checking account with a different bank to save for that emergency fund?
So, I mean, that's not necessarily true. I mean, I feel like emergency
No, that's
fund
the question. That's the question.
Oh, got you. So then, no, absolutely not. I mean, an emergency fund can literally be, hey, you have a check-in, most likely you have a savings in your account, right? They usually come check-in savings. You can literally just have that savings to be your emergency fund savings. Some of them give you yield money, some of them don't. You wouldn't believe, and this is something that maybe people don't even think about. I have an account with Sally Mae from back when they used to have my student loans. And Sally Mae has given me really good return on a savings account I have there. So all my big savings go in there because they do give me a good return. Now, there is a lot of different options that banks have when you're trying to make your savings get a little bit more money. And trust me, we are going to do an investing and a retirement lunch and learn. So please join, and we'll get more into details about, you know, earnings and how to make that money grow and things like that. But what I do have to say is, yes, the savings, you can create a separate account. The emergency fund is just money that you have stuck away somewhere. I don't know where, but just have it somewhere that is easy accessible to you. Because sometimes when you use the savings account, let's say they are a jumbo account or something like that, a money market account that gives you interest, you may not be able to access that right away, right? They may have to have a 6 month, a 1 year, a 2 year to get some earnings back from that. So the emergency fund is money that you want to have in your savings that is easy to access, that you can use for things like, my tire went out, right? My child got sick and I have to take him to the emergency room. Or, you know, the air conditioning went out. Like, these are like my car. I was telling Marilyn, my car air conditioning went out 3 days ago, right? So that's the kind of things that is called emergency savings for.
Yeah.
How do we get that?
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know, and I mean, the thing is that people right now, so many people have lost their jobs.
Yep.
You know, so they're collecting the unemployment. Some are able to collect that additional, but that's going to be running out in a couple of weeks. Yep. So people should not think, oh, I'm getting a, you know, good chunk of money through unemployment. So what's the thinking behind the importance of, I know you're not making any money right now, but you still need to save money?
Yeah. I think that the important is that we have to learn, and we are, okay, so this is what I would say. I grew up in Colombia, right? So the way that you grew up when you're in a Latino country is different than when you grew up here. Because down there, people is more like, you know, the day to day. Here, Americans tend to be, we like to have a lot more sometimes, and sometimes go obviously over our means, and that's why we have so much credit card debt. So the hard part would be to train yourself to accept, this is what I'm making, and this is what I can spend money on. If you cannot make, you know, that connection, unfortunately, you may never reach those goals. So it's a hard conversation with yourself. You have to sit down and say, what's more important to me? To have that brand new car and lease the new car, or have the fancy shoes? Or is it more important to me to say, if my car breaks down, I have money to fix it? And that is the kind of thing that you have to look into. And I know that maybe nobody has told you that before, but those nice shoes will not fix your air conditioning in your car. Exactly. Just saying, right? Just saying. So that's the kind of thing that you have to be. And you know what, with your kids too. I'm sorry, honey. I know, like, when I was little, it was the same thing. Oh, but my neighbor has a really nice new PS3, blah, blah, blah. My parents are like, yeah, but you know what? We're good, right? You have everything you need. So that is, it's hard conversation to have with your kids, but I gotta tell you, when I look back and I look at my neighbors and I look at other people around me, I see myself in a better financial situation than a lot of them, because my parents were able to sit down with me. And by the way, I think my mom is on the phone. She joined us today. So Mom, kudos to you for all that help.
Ajá. Gracias señora por darnos a Carolina LaMonica. Muchísimas gracias, señora. Okay, we have about maybe 6 more minutes, so let's make sure we're getting in everything. You have so much great information.
Absolutely. So let's get on. So how do I get that emergency fund? Let's think about that. First thing, yourself. How do I make that money come up for me? Well, if you haven't been going to work, let's say, and you used to do dry cleaning, that may be some money. You haven't been going to work, so maybe you haven't gone to Starbucks or the fun places for the coffee. Do you know that that could be $80 a month on that coffee? That's $80 a month that you can be saving towards these emergency savings. Family, you know, we love to do like cable. Have you called? I mean, this is something I do, like AT&T. When I feel like they're going to start charging me more, I call them and I'm like, guess what? I'm going to leave. You know what they do? They send you to a different department and they give you a good rate again, because they want you to stay. So make sure you call them and say, what can you offer me? Because everybody wants your money. So try to find that. Do you really need that cable? Can you do Netflix or something else? Can you pair up with your family members and say, let's all get one Netflix and we all pay it together? I don't know. Find different ways to cut out all those little things.
Just one little tip of how I just finished saving over $100 when I moved. Instead of cable, I'm doing YouTube TV. And it gives you everything. It gives you everything for $50 a month. So it's a big set. I mean, it's literally, I was paying $160 before. Now I pay $50 and I get everything I need and more.
There you go. And we're doing AT&T Box, similar thing. We just saved another $100 on that. So that is great.
Yeah.
But
okay, I want to get back onto the money thing because but had to share that little tidbit of information.
No, and I think that's what we need. I feel like it is important to, when you have your budget, you go through it and say, what am I spending too much? Am I eating out too much? Well, then make it into a treat. You know, maybe just once a week, not twice a week, or maybe once every other week and not every weekend, you know? So in that way, you can build that emergency fund. As soon as you feel like you're in a good place, you can splurge a little bit here and there, but just keep that. The best thing you can do is that if you can get that maybe something coming out of your paycheck every month, let's say you want to put $50 away or $100 away, just get an automatic debit that comes from your checking to your savings right first on the month. And then maybe that's how you can also do it. Because if you physically don't feel able to do it, then if it automatically comes out, then it's already there and you're good to go.
And so there's a lot of questions on, you know, when do I start saving for retirement? And, you know, like people think that saving for retirement is something that you do when you start, like when you're 40 years old. And, you know, I started late. It is my biggest regret of not understanding the importance of how that worked and how compound interest worked. From starting, like when you're the first job that you have and that employer match and what that means. I mean, the fact that you are throwing money away when you have an employer match on retirement. So in the last few minutes that we have, I know that there's so much here, but in the last few minutes that we have, can we just talk about, right now, people have stopped contributing to their retirement plan because of COVID. And so tell us a little bit about why that's not a good idea. I mean, dollar cost averaging and all of that and how it works, these terms that they sound like, you know, I don't get it, but let's break it down. Why do not stop?
And I think that's super important. I'm so glad you brought this up because this is what I deal every single day. We had a couple of questions on that. Please, if you are able to keep contributing to your 401k, 403b, 457, whatever it is that you are putting, even your IRA.
Or even your own personal IRA, right, your IRA.
Exactly, even your IRA. Do not stop. Sorry guys, getting my computer to do not stop. Do not stop contributing. Do not stop contributing. I'm gonna tell you why. Because right now, you keep buying, you're buying, especially when the market's up low, you're buying more and more with that same dollar that you're putting in. And not just that, it also is going to give you, the longer time you give yourself, the better chances you have to actually meet those retirement goals. You do not worry about this when you are 40, you are right. If we have younger folks here, please start, whatever it is that you can, put money away into the retirement and pick an investment that makes sense for you. A lot of plans nowadays have what we call the target date funds, which are the funds based on your age. If that's something like that and you're not very financial, like don't have a lot of knowledge about investing and all that, the target date funds will pick something that is corresponding to your age and will drive you through. So like I said, we are going to do another lunch and learn regarding this. And
Clearly,
I see so many questions, so I think
the
I'm gonna
questions
have
are all
to go
coming
back.
now.
Yeah.
I know now that we're starting to wrap up, the questions are
Yeah.
starting to come. And I accidentally did something where I lost a question, so I apologize. So here's the question is, how do we tackle the emotional understanding on how to be successful to make a budget and feel the burden? There's some other questions here, but
Yeah.
I think that
That one is very important, yes. And I think that the way that you have to think about it is kind of like when you know, like when you're dieting a little bit, right? It's you love that cookie, right? It feels so good in your mouth. But when you go and look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, was it worth it, right? So that's exactly how you have to think about budgeting. I want these shoes so bad, but is my budget, is what I have as my goal, you know, more important than those shoes at that point? What I think that it has helped me is the fact that I put pretty good, large, exciting financial goals. Like I want to be able to retire by age 65. I want to be able to afford my own home. Like when I was younger, I was working as a server and I saved to do my down payment on my home. Put some goal that means a lot to you. And that's what's going to drive you from making those bad decisions. Because if you don't have a reward, and then you know what? If you do get a reward, like let's say you decided you want to do an emergency fund and you hit those $1,000, and that's what you want to send, then buy yourself a coffee, $3 one, and say, hey, this is for my emergency fund, right? So do that. I feel like having a goal in mind. If you want to buy a house, put a picture of a house in your fridge. If you want to, you know, whatever it is that you want to do, that's something that motivates you, because without motivation, we're not going to, I mean, we're going to fail. So something that motivates you.
The pictures are so important. I mean, it sounds like something so simple, but having a picture of something like an affirmation, like a lot of us put affirmations on our mirrors, like when we're, you know, because self-care is very important, right? We're going to do one on self-care, everyone, as well. But that picture of whatever that goal is, whether it's small or maybe it's just a blouse that you saw in the store, don't buy it, but put the picture on your mirror or refrigerator. So that's really important. Thank you for that.
There is one question I want to touch about. Someone says, should I put more money towards my student loans than savings towards my emergency fund? Again, I'm not a tax advisor, but this is my belief. Emergency fund should be your priority. And Teresa, put your earmugs on, but I think that sometimes even more important than retirement, fully putting money into retirement. So let's say you only have $100 to put towards retirement. I would do 50 to the emergency fund until you have a good one, and then the 50 to the retirement plan. Even if you just hit the match or whatever they're giving you, something, because you definitely need to put money away so it keeps growing. But that emergency fund is very, very important. Okay.
So, Carolina, unfortunately, we have run out of time.
All right.
I'm going to let you answer just one more question. And everyone is saying, is this recording going to be available? Are your slides going to be available? And of course, we're sending them an attachment. And you had already said to me, yes, that you could share the slides and everything else. I also want to make sure that people send us the topics that they're interested in. If they want more on this one, we'll be happy to create more. We're going to go on. You know, this was something that happened completely organically through the Latinas in Power Symposium. We were not virtual at all, but we had so many people respond and say, we love this, especially Latinas talking to Latinas and our allies.
Yes.
I mean, it just made this amazing connection. So we're going to continue it. We're going to have more lunch and learns starting in September. What we're going to do is take July and August off. And then in September, on September 11th, we're going to have, if you have any high school students or young college students, that one is going to be geared towards those people. Make sure that you get them to register for that one. Go to latinasempower.com. All of our social media will have the platforms. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, of course. We will bring Carolina back. She has become one of my favorites, as you know, as you could see. We'll send an evaluation out so you can give us the feedback. And can we make the webinars longer is one of the questions.
Yay!
Absolutely. You know, we were just worried that Right? We were saying it's 45 minutes
You're
too
stealing your
long.
lunchtime.
So yes, we can definitely thank you for that. We were just concerned with not taking up too much of people's time, but it looks like we'll make them longer for you. There's
And
a lot
Marilyn,
of questions.
a quick question for you. Is there a way that we can save all these questions that we got and maybe I can work on them and maybe send them out as a Q&A if that's possible? Maybe we can do that.
Yeah, and maybe we can even give you a little column on Latinas in Power to go ahead and answer these questions on a weekly basis. As you can see, Carolina has passion around making sure that she's sharing with other Latinas what she has learned. So, de Colombia, te doy las gracias, señora, por darnos una muchacha tan bella como Carolina. And to everyone else, we want to thank you for joining us at Latinas in Power. As I mentioned, the Survey Monkey is still out there. If you did not receive it, send us an email or send it in the thing that you need the link. And so you can qualify for that $100 gift buy by TJ Maxx. Mass Mutual, thank you once again for hosting today's Latinas in Power Lunch and Learn series. Carolina, you were phenomenal and definitely going to be bringing Carolina back. Thank you to everyone. Enjoy the music that we are closing with, the Latin Heartbeat Orchestra. From Latinas in Power in Connecticut, thank you for joining and see you soon. Have a great summer.
Regreso a mi tierra, hoy vuelvo yo a cantar un lelola y sentido a un verde palmar.
Regreso con la esperanza de volver a encontrar a mi familia y amigos que al partir dejé atrás. A mi familia y amigos que al partir dejé atrás. Hoy regreso a mi barrio donde aprendí a jugar aquellos juegos de infancia que nunca podré olvidar.
Regreso por mis razones que me ponen a soñar con mi borinquen preciosa, mi paraíso tropical.
Con mi borinquen preciosa, mi paraíso tropical. Lloro de rabia y por dentro, sangro de ira y dolor. Y es que a mi patria la llevo, ya que mi corazón, esto no es hipocresía.